Sehe ich müde aus? Vielleicht. Order, please. Let us resume proceedings. Als ob er jetzt Order mit E sagt. Das kaufe ich ihm nicht ab. Witnesses, you will now retake the stand. Warum der Inspektor schon wieder? I presume you heard the defense counsel's summation examination. Oh, yeah, Governor. I did, Gov, I did. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin. Core, blimey! This is going to be hard work. Earlier in this trial, you gave the following testimony about your actions after you entered Windy Banks. Well, it was Bedlam soon as, weren't it? It was, Nash, it was. Didn't even have time to pull me dukes out me Lucy lockets. However, that was a lie. You brothers. Core, blimey! On the night in question, you rifled through the items on the victim's counter. You never done nothing on the thought. How'd you figure out that out? Oh. You will now give formal testimony once again. You will tell the court precisely what happened on the night in question, and this time, you will tell the truth. Each lie that passes your lips serves to increase the severity of your punishment. And that, gentlemen, may deal a crushing blow to your chances of ever seeing the light of day again. A thought worth pondering, perhaps. Say no more, Gov. We hear ya. We'll blab, we'll squeak, we'll peach. Das ist wirklich so ein bisschen tick und doof. Witness testimony. A legal entry, the whole truth. Alright, we did knock a few things over, but we weren't rifling for nothing. It was when we heard the gunshot, see? Made us both jump and all that stuff went flying. Lummy, it didn't half give me a fright. We were thinking the shooter'd come out the door and get us next. We stuck everything back where we found it and scampered straight into him in the black. We couldn't have shot the pawnbroker, see? We never even had a chance, did we? So you admit to the defense's accusation. You did indeed ransack Mr. Windybank's countertop on the night in question. Not ransack, Governor, no. That's right, Nash, that's right. It's more like we tidied up, yeah. Sorry. By their own admission, these brothers entered the pawnbrokery under dubious circumstances. However, they panicked and fled on hearing the gunshot, having first made good their mess. The way you say it, we hardly sound like roughs at all. We don't, Nash, we don't. Can't he make us sound a bit more cutthroat? It can't just be coincidence that these men showed up at Windybanks that night. There's more to the testimony than meets the eye. I'm sure of it. Cross-examination. A legal entry, the whole truth. Alright, we did knock a few things over, but we weren't whiffling for nothing. Hold it! If that's the case, then why didn't you testify to that effect in the first place? Well, you know, we ain't exactly squeaky clean, are we? We ain't, Nash, we ain't. If we admitted to something like that, people would think we was up to no good. Well, sadly though, near China, we'd only land ourselves in even more trouble. And in fact now, as a result of lying in your previous testimony, that's exactly what you've done. Landed yourself in even more trouble. Ah, well, that's rotten luck, says the rotten apple eater. Witnesses, explain your actions to the court. Why did you ransack the victim's counter? We never ransacked nothing. Right, Nash, right. More like we tied the place up. Sorry. It was when you heard the gunshot, see? Made us both jump and all that stuff went flying.
Hold it!
So what you're saying is... the sound of the gunshot shocked you so much you knocked all those things off the counter. Well, it shocked one of us that much, yeah. This bag of nerves needs to learn to keep its shirt on. Look, it was loud, alright? Blimey me, that Gwenny would have woken up at that bang. Big Waffia screamed like a blooming baby and fell over on the counter. He knocked over a load of books, a candlestick, and some sky whatnot. That got tangled in some marionette, what knocked over a picture frame, what knocked them scales on the floor. Wait, also das, was gehighlightet war. Okay. You've really mastered working quietly well. Quietly then. What a racket. Me Gwenny would have been scared back into her grave at a clatter like that. So in short, the gunshot took you by surprise. And then some... Is that right? I mean, it was quiet as a mouse, and then all of a sudden, bam! Inspector?
Excuse me!
Excuse me? Inspector Gregson, do you have something to add? Like I keep saying, I don't appreciate being lumped in with these scoundrels. No, something to add about the testimony. You seemed to react just now at what Mr. Skulkin said. Did it make you think of something? It's probably nothing, of course. I wouldn't even bother to mention it, only... Well, the fact is, cases don't get solved if you ignore the little details. How about you just tell us what's on your mind? As you know, we brought these fellas into the yard for questioning last night. And the statement they gave then told a slightly different story to what they are saying now. Did it? You claimed you heard the victim shout something out before the gunshot. Might have, Gav, might have. Does ring a bell now you mention it. Okay. Granted, it's only a minor detail, but still. I can't help feeling like perhaps you've been a bit sloppy with your testimony here, fellas? If I discover the witness's testimony has been any more sloppy than it has hitherto proven to be, I shall be forced to bring the very harshest punishment to bear against them. Easy, easy. We'll get it right this time. That's it, yeah. It's all coming back to me now. Then speak. Supplement your testimony with whatever details have miraculously returned to your questionable minds, sirs. Hehe, right you are, Gaff. Just before the gunshot, we heard the voice yelling out, "Give me that gun!" Give me that gun?
Hold it!
So in fact, you heard the voice and the gunshot almost simultaneously. We did, Gaff, we did. Although, I suppose if you're being honest, we heard a kind of wavering voice before the yell and all. If you don't wanna get shot, give me that gun. Bam! Kind of thing. A career in acting, tragically missed. And where were the voices coming from? Could you tell? Of course we could. From the other side of the door behind the counter, it was. From the storeroom, where the victim was found dead. And the voice you heard, it was that of the victim, Mr. Windybank. On me Granny's life, cause it was. On his Granny's life, cause it was. So, that would mean that you both knew Mr. Windybank and the sound of his voice. Eh? So that would mean... what? What, Nash, what? Any ideas? Yes, Counsel, indeed it would. No, didn't know the Jesus. Oh, I'm supposed to deny it when the bloke in all the fancy clovers giving us the evil eye. If you value your life, you will ensure your testimony is accurate and true. On me Gwenny's life, it is. On his Gwenny's life, it must be. It's a good job his Gwenny's dead. To summarize then, immediately after hearing the voice of the victim, you then hear the gunshot, causing you to stumble and upset the items on the counter, scattering them over the shop floor. They make it sound like we are clumsy. Don't forget we tidied up after like good little boys. Anyway, the way I see it, the bloke what owned the place was holding a gun, so he should have just fired instead of yelling at the girl. Ist das nicht falsch? Sie hat doch die Waffe gehalten, oder nicht?
Objection!
Okay. You're saying that on the night in question, the victim, Mr. Windybank, was wielding a gun. Is that correct? That's it, Gov. You've got the picture. Yes, Nash, yes. No question. And yet the photographic evidence from the time of the incident clearly shows that Mr. Windybank was not in possession of a firearm of any description.
Objection!
You surprise me. Does the defense really intend to highlight evidence that compromises the position of the accused even more? Furthermore, the defense has failed to establish that the photographic print presented was taken a suitably short time prior to the victim's death. Your chronologically is severely lacking, counsel. Yeah, that's right. Too right, Nash, too right. The old geezer could have been about to turn the tables on the girl, eh? Hardly likely. No, I'm afraid this won't stand as conclusive evidence. Continue with the cross-examination, counsel, and heed my earlier warning, witnesses. Okay. A Skulkin's never Skulkin. Okay, also das zählt scheinbar nicht. He was only...
Hold it!
You're saying that Mr. Windybank had a gun in his hands. Oh yeah, bet that was a sight, eh? Them two waving them guns at each other must have got pretty heated. I mean, just before you shouted out, we heard the geezer say, if you don't wanna get shot. Didn't really sound like he meant it, mind. More of an empty threat, I could say. Mr. Windybank was known to keep a revolver on his shop counter at all times. People say that to protect the articles in his keeping, he'd readily put a bullet in someone's head if required. That someone being himself, of course. Good grief! Extraordinary devotion indeed, if alarmingly misguided. Well, he certainly sounded like he was ready to pull the trigger the other night. Only the person he was gonna shoot beat him to it. Cooked his goof poop proper. Bet he wished he'd squeezed the trigger instead of wasting time shouting, "Give me that gun." And it was directly after those words that you heard the gunshot. It was more or less at the same time, Gov. Give me that gun! Bam! Kind of thing. Yes, a career in acting, very tragically missed. Then we heard the sound of someone hitting the deck, before everything went dead quiet. After that, we done a slapdash job tidying the place up. Lummy, it didn't half give me a fright. We were thinking the shooter'd come out the door and get us next.
Hold it!
So, you didn't try to open the storeroom door then? Not on your life. It went deathly quiet after that, it did. Put the wind right up me. But anyway, the door was locked, weren't it? No way it was open. Yes, of course. It was locked from the inside, or so we've been led to believe. It was, Guff, it was. From the inside. Right, so you had no way of knowing what was going on in there, did we? Unless there was some other way to get a view of the inside of the storeroom. Like through the keyhole or a spy hole perhaps. Don't ring no bells, don't light no lights. We had to cut and run before we noticed anything like that. We are still cutting our teeth in this game, see? But one day we'll really cut the mustard. Please, cut it out. But as we know, behind that door was the victim's lifeless body, with the accused not 2 feet away. Yes, unfortunately. Okay, Gina was in there unconscious, with a gun in her hand. To confirm, would it be correct to say that neither of you set foot inside the storeroom? That's right, Guff, that's right. Couldn't have, even if we wanted to. We stuck everything back where we found it and scalped straight into him in the black.
Hold it!
Yes, whereupon you fired a shot from your own gun at Mr. Herlock Sholmes. Oh, we was a bit asty there. We was, Nash, we was. Truth be told, I was already shaking like leaf when your lot turned up. If you're shaking like leaf, don't put a loaded gun in your hand. Good advice, miss. Good advice. Truth be told, my mind went totally blank. Before your mind goes totally blank, make sure you don't have a loaded gun in your hand. Mental note made, miss. After that, we legged it down to the street, but apparently we looked dodgy to the coppers or something, so they clapped the derbies on us like winking. What's in derbies? D-R-B-E-S. Handschellen, achso. And after you'd been handcuffed, police found this revolver in your possession, correct? Well, yeah. But listen, that proves done it. That proves it, done it, eh? We couldn't have shot the pawnbroker, see? We never even had a chance, did we?
Hold it!
And why should you believe that? Eh? What? Well, cause it's true, innit? The place was totally empty when we went in. At that time, the victim was already in the storeroom, having been forced to open the door by the accused, who had a gun to his head. In other words, on the night in question, these two witnesses never even laid eyes on the proprietor of the pawnbrokery, Mr. Windybank. Correct? You've got it, mister. Down to a T. So the Skulkin brothers never actually encountered Mr. Windybank. Is that really true, I wonder? That's it? That's the full extent of the testimony. What is it, Reno? You look very fierce. I could pour you some herbal tea if you're tired. Oh yeah, ich bin müde. Dankeschön. Oh, thank you, but I'm fine. Being such a logical thinker, you probably laugh. But I feel as though these brothers are still hiding something. Something important. It is nothing more than a feeling, though. I have no proof to support it. Well, feelings can be very logical at times. Sorry? People's expressions, the movement of their eyes, the words they choose. You can take all that in and your brain will quietly analyze it to come up with a feeling like you described. You concluded that there's something suspicious about this testimony without knowing why, that's all. I think you should trust your instincts. Iris, thank you. Sometimes I think if she's 10 years old, I must be 5. Alright, we did knock a few things over, but we weren't rifling for nothing. Just before the gunshot, we heard a voice yelling out, "Give me that gun." The bloke what owned the place was holding a gun, so he could have just fired instead of yelling at the girl. Lummy didn't give me a fright. We was thinking the shooter'd come out the door and get us next. We stuck everything back where we found it and scarpered straight into him in the black. Okay. Okay. A photograph of Gina. Post-shooting photograph.
Objection!
Okay, das war falsch. There's clearly something odd about that last statement. Clearly not. Please don't mind me. It'd be significant if you would lower your hand. I won't lower my hand and I prove my client's innocence, as long as it's quite quick. But it's clearly something odd here indeed. Your behavior counts. Okay. We stuck everything back where we found it and scarpered straight into him into the blank. We couldn't have shot the pawnbroker, see? We never even had a chance, did we? Time of death one. We're not gonna Rudo. From. Okay. Proves the victim murdered in the stove. Plan of Windy Banks. Ich bin mal wieder lost, würde ich sagen. Hat sich die eine Testimony noch geändert hier? Where the voice getting out, give me that gun. Aber sie hielt das doch, oder nicht? Oh, ich speichere nochmal kurz. Es ist schon wieder so warm hier drin, das ist unglaublich.
Objection!
Okay, auch falsch. Load. Okay.
Hold it!
So in fact, you heard the voice and the gunshot almost simultaneously. We did, Gav, we did. Although, I suppose if you're being honest, we are the kind of varying voice, voila. If you don't want to get shot, give me that gun. Bam. Okay. Short Peter Link wasted. And where is the voice coming from? Could you tell? Of course we could, from the other side of the door behind the counter it was. From the storeroom, where the victim was found dead. And the voice you heard, it was that of the victim, Mr. Windybank. On Gwenny's life, of course it was. On Miss Gwenny's life, of course it was. So that would mean that you both knew Mr. Windybank and the sound of squalls. Eh? So that would mean what? What, Nash? What? Any ideas? Yes, counsel, indeed it would. Nah, we didn't know the geezer. How am I supposed to deny it when that bloke in all the fancy covers giving us an evil eye? If you value your life, you will ensure your testimony is accurate. Blah blah, on my Gwenny's life it is. On my Gwenny's life it must be. It's a good job with Gwenny's dead. To summarize then, immediately after hearing blah blah, causing you to stumble over the floor. Yeah. Make it sound like you're clumsy. Don't forget we tied up after, like good little boys anyway, the way I see it. Oh god. The bloke would own the place was holding a gun, so he could have fired instead of killing at the girl.
Hold it!
You're saying that we hold a gun? Oh yeah, bet it was a sight, eh? Them two waving them guns at each other must have got pretty heated. I mean, just before he shouted, we heard the teaser say, if you don't wanna get shot. Didn't really sound like he meant it, mind. More of an empty threat, you could say. Mr. Windybank was known to keep a revolver on his shop counter at all times. People say that to protect the articles in his keeping, he readily put a bullet in someone's head if required. That someone, being himself, of course, can breathe. What up? Wo hat Gregson nochmal reagiert? Beim ersten Statement. Which squeezed the trigger instead of wasting time showing him his gun. It was directly after those words that we heard the gunshot. It was more or less the same time, Guff. Give me that gun. Bam, 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 okay. Kind of thing. Yes, a certain career in acting very tragically missed. Then we heard the sound of someone hitting the deck. Before everything went that quiet, after that we done a slapdash job tidying the place up. Lummy didn't have given me a fright because I was thinking the shooter had come out the door and get us next. Okay.